get a good picture, I've taken things indoors to my shed, mainly because the spring is here and the weather has improved a lot, and I'm indoors doing things now. And I know I haven't made a video for a while, but that's mainly because well, anyone who's has ever known me will tell you I go through the hermit stage now and again. It's my personality type that I vanish for a while, and anyone who's ever known me for a long time has. I can't see the chat, guys. I don't have my glasses with me, but it's good to be back. Thank you for so many of you who are worried about me and were very concerned. And no, I'm okay. It's just that you. This is what I'm like. I go on the hermit thing every so often, and I just need. My consciousness was telling me to do something else, go somewhere else, do other things, and so I did. And when I finished that, the weather's improved, it's warmer, so I can come into the shed here and make the videos. The light is better. I'm still trying to figure out the internet stuff here because of the signaling. Aircom is a terrible company, and you don't have much choice around here, but it seems to me as they increased their rates, their broadband got worse, and their mobile data network has really gone to shit around here, which is pretty funny considering they sent out fleets of 4G vans out around the place to I don't know, 4G us. So if this works out okay and it's agreeable to you guys and it's agreeable to me, I'll do these videos from now on. I keep a lot of my artwork in here, and I keep things that I've collected over the years and bits and bobs, and it kind of allows for a bit of fun to create a backdrop and this kind of thing. I can change it now and again, but this is they use this awful expression today, the man cave, the man, their man cave. I hate that expression. This is just like where I keep my stuff, and that's so it'd be. I just thought, like, when I came in here the other day, if I could get the signal to work from here, this might be a good place to do videos from, and I'll probably set it up a little bit better. It's probably stand up in the next one or something, and once it's comfortable and I'm not freezing to death, I'm okay with this. And so there hasn't been an awful lot in my consciousness lately regarding the whole lockdown thing. I've tried not to think about it too much because the gaslighting is off the scale from the media. And there's a hell of a lot of negativity in alternative media. And I just, we can all only handle so much, although it's important we know the good and the dark stuff as well. So I've been walking every day, and I've been making the most of although the air pressure's been very funny lately. I've been outside as much as I can get outside, and I've been meeting and talking to people in the park and stuff like that, and so just to do some kind of real world stuff was important for me, because it's the gaslighting, as I said, is off the scale. Like I looked on social media news this morning, and it's all full of stories by airlines who are all like overexcited and delighted that they're going to start flying in the summer. And it's all the airlines at the same time in both UK and Irish media, as if somebody went to them, it's over, this kind of thing. And I think the propaganda is not lasting, and it's only being kept up out of spite by this. In Ireland, definitely, the politicians are only keeping it going by spite. You can definitely see that they're enjoying, people like John Waters has covered this much better than I am, but there's a pathological behaviour there that's quite disturbing among certain figures in Irish politics who are absolutely loving this power trip over the citizenry and locking us down and enslaving us literally. It's turning them on. And I believe there's an actual S&M sexual aspect to it. But so that's very nice of you to all to ask about me, and thank you very much. I'm grand, and it's just I was just being the hermit. I just had to take a break and go away and do different things. But it looks like the signal on this is okay, so this might be a good place. I'll change the lighting, it's a bit harsh and things like that. I've got like studio lights and stuff like that. Make it a bit more professional looking if I can. I just have the phone on a tripod, and a tripod that our crane gave me, bless him, and yeah. So again, the gaslighting's off the scale. The vaccination thing, I've seen two TV shows from the UK. I'm sure you've all seen them as well, clips. One of them was that awful EastEnders show where the acting is truly atrocious and always has been. And one of this older dude comes into the shop and he goes, "Here, man, I got my vaccine. I feel like I have the superpowers, man." And the woman behind the counter goes, "Oh yeah, it's great." And oh, science is a wonderful thing. And then there's this sort of like white trash woman comes in, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not going to be a human experiment for this vaccine." And the woman behind the counter goes, "Oh, you got your PhD then, have you?" It's like the usual condescending thing, like like this belief that ordinary people are not allowed to have an opinion on anything. It's just not acceptable, and this is the world we live in now. We live in a world where ordinary people are not allowed to have an opinion. Only the political, the scientific, and the technocratic classes, and of course the CEOs who run all this behind the scenes, are only allowed to have an opinion. The rest of us are to be, like we're really living in a real dictatorship, but it's like a poly dictatorship. It's like there's several of them, and we're not allowed an opinion. We're not allowed an opinion at all, simply because we're not members of the expert class. And the expert class is unconditional, has their opinions are unconditional truths, their gospel in terms of how things are. And that's how you see that. Like ordinary people are not allowed to have an opinion because they don't have a PhD or something like this. This is fundamentally totalitarian and extreme. The purpose of they love to talk about the open society, but it's not open in terms of people and having opinions and stuff like that. It's only open in terms of the establishment telling people what to do and they must abide by it. And then they're dressed down and told that they're stupid, and that they're not capable of thinking for themselves. I can tell you for a fact that intuition is a huge part of your existence. And I've heard Christian Morris talk about this in terms of the Holocaust in Germany. There were plenty of Jewish Germans who after the 1934 Nuremberg racial laws kicked in. If you weren't packing your bags and ready to go, there was something not right there, and there was plenty of them before that who did a runner. And unfortunately, it was the poorest Jews who couldn't escape who went into the gas chambers and into the death camps. And that's a lesson for all of us there. And that was simply because a dictatorial class, just like in the Soviet Union, a scientific elite, a technocratic and engineering and industrial elite back in those days, telling people what they should do and think. And this is fundamentally what the reason why people charged off their landing crafts and Omaha Beach and Juno Beach and Sword Beach on D-Day 1944, June 1944, was to not make sure that doesn't happen. And here it is worse than ever, beyond even what the Third Reich and the Bolsheviks did. It's just done with a smile and a rainbow flag, but it's still the same totalitarianism, and it's pure wickedness. It's pure wickedness. And this is the thing. Is like, oh, I a very nice lady, I think from Scotland, the other day asked me like about a political party, and I was like, look, there's no point in joining. If the system cannot help you. It can't. You cannot. And I know people mean well and everything, and I know there's parties and groups in Ireland who are running for election with their hearts are in the right place. But the system is fundamentally dangerous. That's the whole thing. It's filled with traps to prevent everything from the media editorials. Just the way you take away in Ireland, say things like the fact checkers. The fact checkers are the people who write the facts, telling you their facts are true, their facts are correct, and anything that's not written by them is incorrect. Now, when you have that level of propaganda against you, uh, and unfortunately a sizable proportion of the cheeseheads believing it, it's very difficult to achieve a political solution. Now, there are other solutions, but I don't want to say them on camera because they wouldn't be considered very fashionable. But they are solutions nonetheless. And This is the story of the human race, that human beings, whether they, none of us got nothing for nothing. Our ancestors, trade. They didn't say let's form trade unions one day, and then people like the Rockefellers and the people that own the coal mines and steel mills in England said, okay, you have a trade union. This was fought with people have to actually physically fight for this and suffer. And this is when you this is not. I don't think this is possible with modern society. I think with the way you have people now, when you have when you have when you have like there was a funny meme the other day where they said, "Show us the proof," and they showed them the proof, and then they go, "You're a conspiracy theorist." I mean, the Irish Times had an article the other day saying that 83% of the people who died of COVID-19 actually died of something else, some underlying condition. And you show that to them and they don't believe you. I mean, which ostensibly means the chances of dying of COVID-19 in a Western state with our standard of living and our standards of nutrition and so on is practically zero. Practically zero. So it's like, I've decided my attitude towards. I know I'm constantly changing my attitude towards it because remember this is a war of attrition. Is I'm kind of bored with it now. I'm kind of bored with the whole thing of like, what will the political solution to this be? It will be like what all political solutions is. We're a rudderless in many ways for all their bureaucracy and all their civil servants and all their NGOs. This Western society is a rudderless ship in many ways, and just really they're not as in charge as they make out they are, and there's often chaos involved, and say you have the lockdown, and it's also commercial and greed. I was thinking of why the airlines didn't went along so easily, like especially likes of Ryanair, went along so easily with the lockdown. Well, there's lots of reasons. Even though they've lost money, they're not real losses. They're operating losses, which is very different than an actual it's a thing like a capital loss or an investment loss. They just haven't made money. They're losses because they aren't out there making money, so they're really breaking even. But they're actually because no, they're not flying as much as they used to. All these airlines, they're not things paying things like taxes and carbon levies, and so therefore they're actually saving money. And that's why you had like the likes of the boss of Emirates, and Emirates is a very Dublin is a big place for Emirates airline. You can fly. It's actually great. You can fly to anywhere in the world from Dublin, really, in the eastwards through Emirates, and there's something like 600 flights a week between Dublin and Dubai alone. But they were all like, we can't wait to get back. And then I was thinking, well, you've lost so much money. And then you realised while this is all going on, they have all sort of cost cutting measures. They'll have been able to the unions in the airlines won't be in a position to bargain as well when they come back because they'll just be happy to have jobs. The, they've saved they have their fuel all stored up. So even though oil prices have increased, most airlines buy and stockpile large amounts of fuel in advance. I definitely know the big American airlines do, and Ryanair definitely does. And this, so it's like they're also looking at things like you will see something like the British Airways is in big trouble, and Ryanair has always had it in for big British Airways like they've had it for Aer Lingus, and both Aer Lingus and this sort of like state-owned airlines like British Airways. I wouldn't be surprised now if you'll see Ryanair make a bid to take over the likes of British Airways and and Aer Lingus. You'll see things like this happening. You'll see major airlines being absorbed into others, and it's I can definitely see why the airlines now were like not angry because they were looking at this whole thing of restructuring the whole business model and the whole organizational structure of that industry during the downtime that they would never normally get if there wasn't a lockdown, plus all the money they're still saving paying taxes, carbon offsets, and they'll get little sweeteners for starting up again. Every airport around the world will want business in, especially in touristy countries like Ireland, and well, everywhere is really touristy now. And they'll be airport landing fees will be drastically reduced, and so that's why the airlines hung on. They're going to be rolling in the gravy when it kicks off again. And so that makes you then you when you start to see it in those terms, okay, we're back to old-fashioned crude capitalism. So maybe it's not as sinister as I think it is, and things like great resets and so on have started to fade out of my consciousness, and this whole thing. And I think when things go back, when they're talking about things like a great reset, it's just making it easier for big corporations to do things cheaper and to make more profit. And that's why they all went along with it. I'd nearly bet money on this now. And they've had a respite and restructured their business models. And you'll see this across the board in so many things, all kinds of transport and other companies, as well as the hospitality sector. You're going to see big changes, and they're going to be very, very busy. They're going to be very busy. So this whole thing of us being locked down forever as prisoners, I don't think it's going to happen now. There's the other factor as well, that I long believed that this is a cover story for something else. And I wonder, I'm not going to say I believe it is true or it is true, but I was to hang my coat on something or my colors on something, it would be all this asteroid and meteor activity that's happening around the Earth at the moment. And we are, if you look at the space weather maps, we are, and you saw like some major asteroid, meteorite and meteor activity in both England and in Oregon in the US, around the same latitudes. And flying would be very risky because of an EMP. And I spoke about this in the past. Even a large body, even a large meteorite clipping the upper atmosphere and exploding like an atom bomb would knock the electronics out for hundreds, if not thousands, of square miles around. Any plane underneath that would fall out of the sky into the ocean or onto the land. And now, suddenly this morning, out of the blue, NASA are all very positive. Oh, we've identified asteroids. And there was a big one the other day past us, a monster. And they all say, oh, well, it's in no danger of collision. It's no danger of collision as long as the orbital trajectory of the asteroid or the large body isn't altered in some way. And there are ways that it can be altered. There are things like sudden changes in the, for instance, these spaceships that fly on, that they're planning to build, that fly on the solar winds. Well, that's how powerful those solar winds are. One of them could knock a sizable asteroid off its predetermined trajectory and into the Earth. There's other things like there could be asteroids coming from a different direction, or it could hit something else like a chunk of ice. There's many things that can cause it to happen, including the many gravitational anomalies that exist within the inner solar system. And plus the body's relationship to things such as gravitons and other sort of quantum matter. At the same time too, we have the likes of CERN just telling us they've discovered a new form of physics. Now this could even be another thing. Are they afraid that they've like the dwarves in Moria, they've dug too deeply and released the Balrog? I no longer ever believe now it had anything to do with the virus. The COVID-19 thing was a very bad flu, and I'm absolutely convinced that was just a cover story for whatever it is behind the scene that really caused it. We'll probably never find out, just like we'll probably never find out who assassinated JFK. We'll never find out. And it's just one of those things we'll have to live with. But I'm a lot more hopeful that things will go back now to how they were. In fact, I think they will. And I think we'll be quite surprised. You hear people saying, oh, the economies will be destroyed and all this other stuff. I don't think it's going to be as bad as that now. My intuition, which is something I've always, valued very strongly in myself, tells me that they're about to try, in the next couple of months, we'll probably see big changes and they'll throw the towel in. And, there's already, seeing the hotels around this part of Ireland are already filling up the papers and the internet with advertisements for staff. They wouldn't be doing that unless someone said to them, get ready. Just like the airlines, all positive today, somebody said, get ready. And I really do think so. We're in the final stages of it. That's one of the reasons I came back to make the videos. I didn't want to come back unless there was something positive to give, because it's very easy to get lost into doom and gloom, and it's not healthy for not only your mental health, but you all know that your physical health is affected by these things too. unfortunately. And so, on other news, it's amazing the amount of people, particularly young Irish men, and when I say young Irish men, fellas under 40, who are contacting me or talking to me or meeting me and telling me how they've been inspired to become pagans. And this is amazing. Now, I'm not saying this from an evangelical reason because I never set out to do it that way. We're not on the evangelical spiritual path. But it's amazing how many have contacted me and spoke about this. Mostly men, but like men and women and all different ages too. And I think a lot of them were hanging on to Catholicism in Ireland casually because of like their families and stuff like that, weddings and christenings and stuff like that. But as John Waters pointed out in a recent article on his phenomenal Substack blog, and it's a free article. He wrote an article about basically the betrayal of the Irish people by the Catholic Church. I now believe the rumours that when I was growing up, there was always rumours around that during the famine, while the Irish starved, the Catholic Church were getting their four-course meals served to them on silver platters by their servants while the parishioners were starving. I now believe that because that's what happened during COVID. That's what happened. From a religious point of view, there would be elderly people in this country who had grown up like quite devoutly Catholic, and they would want to have the last rites or whatever said for themselves or their husband or wife or someone, their brother or sister at the end, and the priest is at home, the so-called man of God who believes in eternal life, cowering in terror. That's how much his faith is there. And then you have this appalling, these appalling behaviors like that, where I didn't even hear stories of priests who snuck out on the sly. If I heard stories of a priest who was asked to give the last rites and then snuck out, ignoring his bishop and doing it, well, good luck to him, fair play to him. But I haven't even heard of that. And so their behavior was so despicable that it was like, I now believe all those stories that they wined and dined while their own parishioners starved around them in the famine. The only thing with the famine was because of emigration and because of dying, there wasn't anyone around to tell the tale of what they did. But this time there is. So those people who were the last vestige of Catholicism in a formal sense, in terms of like going to mass and stuff like that, they've abandoned that now completely and become they're pagans. They're telling me right. A lot I have to do is they say to me like, they'd ask me like, in the past, what's the best way to become a pagan? Is there a book I follow? And I said, no, the best way to become a pagan is go for a walk in the woods and listen to your heart, and the gods will speak to you. A good one is to go out at 3 a.m. in the summer on a moonlit night when the sky is clear and walk through the countryside or through a park or even through your suburbs in your neighborhood. And you wait until the sun starts to peak up over the horizon and the sky starts going pink and the birds start to sing at the dawn chorus, and you'll see the foxes and badgers come out. Even if you live in a city, you'll see them. And the old gods will speak to you that way. And that was there's no book that tells you how to be a pagan. Your heart shows you the way. And of course there's things like mythology, and you can listen to things like that and find out all that stuff. But at the end of the day, they're just conveyances of archetypes. Ultimately, it's a relationship with you and the cosmos that's unconditional in terms of how you approach the spiritual. There's only 3 things in paganism that you have to do in order to make it work: sacrifice, magic, or believe in sacrifice, magic, and reincarnation. Sacrifice, give away things to people who are more needy, and by that I don't mean give money to corporate charity. When I was last working in Dublin, I was making an awful lot of money. I had a very good job, but I used to go out on Thursday nights with a bunch of guys and get shit-faced drunk until I realised it was a waste of money. I was spending 200 plus euros getting drunk and having just acting like stupid and wasting the money. And I had the money as extra, I didn't need it. And so I was just spending money on booze and partying for the sake of it. And so I stopped doing it, stopped having hangovers. And instead, on the Thursday night, I used to go around central Dublin giving every homeless person a €20 note. And it it came back to me in other ways. The exchange of energy, that stuff is all true. This exchange of energy, and I got very good look back in other ways that happened. Things went right for me in other ways. And that some people were quite amazed by that. They were even angry, like, you shouldn't be giving them money, they'll spend it on booze and drugs. And it's like, it's none of my business. I'm giving that money to them without conditions. If they want to spend it on booze and drugs or food, that's none of my business. That's not why I'm giving it to them. And I found that that's a classic example of sacrifice, or even like, I mean, this is the question that people ask me, like, tell us more about sacrifice in a pagan sense. If you have to go away from home a lot, and your elderly mother is is at home a lot of the time or something, and the neighbor across the street stops in and checks on her for you and things like that without you having to ask her. And then one day down the road, you may see him working on his van or his car in the driveway, and you say, "What's wrong?" "Oh, the engine's knackered." Buy him a new car if you can afford it. I know that sounds extreme, but that's sacrifice. Buy him or offer to pay for his engine to be repaired, because this is how this is not charity. This is sacrifice. Charity and sacrifice are two different things. Charity is, here, I give you this on condition you convert to be a Christian, like the missionaries, or I do this for you. This way you have the most evil expressions of charity are the philanthropists like the Bill Gates and the George Soros, who give the money with major conditions. That's not sacrifice. Is when you give the money, or you give the help, or you give whatever you can help them with, even if it's only a prayer or a card, without asking for anything in return. Just that's the exact thing of sacrifice. Magic is just the belief that your consciousness can change reality, that you can actually do certain things, and through observation of things like synchronicities, or even through your focus of will, through things like art and stuff, that you can actually change reality. You see that right away. Like, for instance, I've made these videos. They haven't done anything really amazing, but so many people tell me that their lives are much better off because of watching my videos. They got through it. Well, that was magic. I changed reality just by doing it, just having an idea, just a conscious will, creating a piece of art. Something that didn't exist anymore now exists in the material reality. A painting I did a few years ago of me in the desert in America, which I've never been to, connected to the cosmos and stars. And what you know, I'm now making a film about Jack Parsons in the desert. That's why magic was called the art in ancient times. It was the same thing. It was considered one and the same. And reincarnation is not only just the belief that you'll come back to live again in a different body, but you, like the way a tree comes back in the spring. It's a tree is dead in the winter. A landscape is dead. It comes back to life again. That's all that is. And once you were aware of those three things, and you listen to your heart, you're a pagan. You don't have to have any rules or anything like that. These are just fundamental. We're just living the way humans are supposed to live. If you could get into a cat or anything like that, into its consciousness, or of an animal, you'd find that they live pretty much the same way. It's just it's natural law. It's almost like an anarchy of the natural world. And so and that was really amazing to see so many people say that. So many people come up and say these lovely things to me. And so that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And a lot of people are saying, "Well, I'm not going for the pagan thing, but I'll do the folk. I like the folk Catholic idea. I think it's great too as well. I think folk Catholicism is a great thing. You can see Jesus Christ as an archetype, as an inspiration, and you can also venerate your local saints like Breed here in Ireland, Saint Bridget, and there's no pope or bishops or cardinals or priests involved. It's a communication directly, and the Catholic and the pagan celebrations are the same anyway. I think a lot of people that were, until they got into my stuff, were wary of paganism because of rubbish like Wicca, Wicca is just another version of the Abrahamic thing. So that's the video today. If this is agreeable, I haven't checked the quality of this yet. We'll go back in here for the winter and or for the spring and summer, and keep positive. I think the dice is rolled in a different way. There was a tremendous sense of disconnect and stagnation last week, and I could feel it very strongly. But this week it definitely feels like the energies are flowing. So look after yourselves. Love yous all, and I'll see you again soon, not like a big break like last time. Take care, all the best.